The first sound the scouts heard was laughter. It echoed across the ruins of the mining city of Hale, bouncing from broken towers and shattered walkways. The laughter was not human. It was a harsh, metallic rhythm that pulsed through the air like a chant. The scouts froze, their sensors flaring as they tried to trace the source. No life signs appeared on their screens. Yet the sound grew louder. Captain Rin lowered his visor and raised a hand to halt the squad. He had fought in 5 systems and survived 2 orbital sieges. But this was different. The enemy they faced was known for cruelty, for treating war like a game. Their fleets had burned worlds and enslaved entire populations. They called themselves the Dominion of Ash, and wherever they marched, cities fell silent. Rin whispered a command, and the squad fanned out. The laughter continued, rolling through the empty streets. It seemed to mock them, daring them to move forward. The team advanced, step by step, boots crunching on shattered glass and dust. Their mission was simple in words, but terrifying in truth. They were to locate the enemy command unit rumored to be hidden beneath Hale as they reached the central plaza. The laughter suddenly stopped. The silence that followed felt heavier than the noise. A single figure rose from behind a collapsed monument. It was tall and armored, its surface reflecting faint blue light. The being tilted its head, studying the humans as if they were curiosities rather than threats. Rin felt a chill, but he did not hesitate. He signaled the squad to open fire. Energy bolts streaked across the plaza, slamming into the figure. Smoke and sparks erupted. Yet when the haze cleared, the enemy still stood. It raised one arm, and a weapon unfolded from its forearm like a living machine. The air screamed as the weapon activated. 3,000 rounds per second tore through the plaza in a storm of light and heat. The scouts dove for cover as stone and metal disintegrated around them. Rin watched in disbelief as the ancient monument behind them was reduced to dust in moments. This was not a weapon meant for battle alone. It was a message. The Dominion wanted humanity to know that resistance was futile. Yet humans had learned something across generations of war. Fear could be faced. Hopeless odds could be challenged. And when pushed to the edge, humanity did not kneel. It adapted. Rin activated his emergency beacon and transmitted the coordinates. Within minutes, the sky above Hale shimmered as human warships emerged from jump space. Their hulls glowed with fresh alloy plating and experimental shielding. They were not the fragile vessels the Dominion had crushed before. These ships carried the work of decades. Built from every loss and every lesson, Admiral Kess stood on the bridge of the flagship Valor, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. She had ordered this trap, knowing the enemy would not resist the chance to crush a small squad. The Dominion had grown arrogant, and arrogance blinded them. She gave the command, and the fleet opened fire. Rail cannons thundered, sending kinetic rounds that struck with the force of meteors. The Dominion reinforcements appeared in flashes of distorted light, but they were too late to change the tide. Human ships moved with precision, forming rotating formations that shared shield, power, and targeting data. The plaza below became a battlefield of shadows and fire. Rin and his squad regrouped, pushing forward as the enemy unit tried to retreat. The laughter did not return. Instead, the machine staggered under concentrated fire, its armor cracking. Rin advanced, firing until the weapon fell silent. When the enemy collapsed, a strange calm settled over Hale. The humans had not only survived, they had struck back. News of the battle spread across human colonies. Worlds that had lived in fear now saw proof that the Dominion could be wounded. Factories doubled production. Scientists worked day and night. Civilians volunteered in numbers never seen before. Humanity had found its answer to despair. The Dominion responded with fury. Fleets descended on border systems, turning space into fields of fire. Planets burned, but each loss fueled a greater resolve. Human commanders adapted tactics with every encounter, learning the patterns of their enemy and exploiting them. Rin was promoted, sent to the front lines of the largest conflict yet, the battle for the Orion Gate. This gateway controlled access to dozens of star routes. Whoever held it could shape the war. The Dominion arrived first, their ships forming a dark wall across the stars. Their commanders believed this would be the final stand. They broadcast their laughter across all channels. A chilling reminder of hail. Human forces emerged in waves, their formation vast and unyielding. Admiral Kess addressed every ship, her voice steady and clear. She spoke of home, of those lost, and of the future that depended on this moment. There was no fear in her words, only resolve. The battle erupted with a brilliance that lit the void. Energy beams, kinetic rounds, and guided missiles filled the darkness. Human ships absorbed damage and returned fire with relentless precision. Squadrons moved like living organisms, covering one another and striking where the enemy was weakest. At the center of the chaos, Rin led a boarding team toward the Dominion flagship. The corridors were cold and silent, lined with alien symbols. They advanced through resistance, disabling defenses, and clearing a path to the command core. When they reached the heart of the vessel, they found the source of the laughter. A massive intelligence array pulsed with energy, its surface flickering with data streams. It was not a single being, but a network that guided the Dominion. It had calculated fear as a weapon, believing it could break humanity. Rin placed the final charge and retreated with his team. As they escaped, the explosion rippled through the flagship, tearing it apart from within. The laughter cut off across every channel at once. Without their command core, the Dominion fleet faltered. Human forces pressed the advantage, driving the enemy back through the gate. One by one, Dominion ships were destroyed or forced to flee into the depths of space. Silence returned to the battlefield, not the mocking kind, but a quiet filled with awe. Humanity had done what once seemed impossible. They had not only survived, they had changed the course of the galaxy. In the aftermath, worlds began to rebuild. Trade routes reopened and new alliances formed. The scars of war remained, but they became symbols of endurance rather than defeat. Rin stood on the observation deck of the Valor, watching stars drift by. He thought of hail, of the laughter, and of the moment it had stopped. It was not just the end of a sound. It was the end of an era where humanity was prey. Now, when darkness rose, humanity would rise with it. They had learned that no matter how powerful the storm, united will could break it. And somewhere beyond the stars, the echoes of that final silence carried a message. The laughing had stopped, and humanity would never be silent again.